Hello, and welcome back to the Farmhouse. I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And I'm Candace Worsbowski.
And this week, I got to talk to Alyssa Adkins, who's a produce farmer in Freeport, Maine. Alyssa and her partner, Nathan Broaddus, own Farthest Field Farm, where they grow vegetables, including a lot of different varieties of peppers. They also bottle and jar their own hot sauces and salsas, all made from their own peppers and produce with recipes created in-house. We actually ordered all 5 of Alyssa's hot sauces to do our own version of the hit show Hot Ones, if you've ever heard of it, which Candace and a few others here in the newsroom will be joining me for. So Candace, how are you with spice? And is there one of Alyssa's sauces that you're most looking forward to trying?
I am so excited to be doing this. I would say that I'm fairly good with spice. I like spicy things, especially like spicy Thai food or buffalo hot wings. I love those. I have experience with the last dab from Hot Ones, and it is a story that my 8-year-old still loves to tell people about how severely I reacted, but no regrets. I'm glad I tried it. I am excited to try the Lantern Light hot sauce. It has a carrot base, which I find interesting, and I don't think I've ever heard of a hot sauce that does that. I'm sure there are others out there. There's millions of hot sauces, but I don't think I've ever tried one with a carrot base. I'm also excited because the label says that it is packed with savory flavor from garlic, and I love garlic. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by that one too. I am not familiar with paper lantern peppers at all. That was new to me. So
me too.
I'm excited, but I am personally really bad with spice, so this is going to be interesting for me, but I'm really excited to try the Golden Hour sauce. It has honey and husk cherries in it, so I feel like that'll be a very nice kind of spicy sweet type of combination.
Very sweet, I would think.
I feel like there will maybe be some tears on my end as we get towards the spicier end of her hot sauce spectrum.
The good news is I don't think you'll be the only one struggling. I mean, I don't want to make too bold of a prediction here, but I feel like there might be other people on this panel that maybe aren't great with some heat. So we'll see.
We'll see. Well, we are honestly all very excited to try all of these sauces, but before we get into all of that, let's first hear from Alyssa and learn all about her sauces and about Farthest Field Farm. Alyssa, welcome to the Farmhouse. Thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here.
So I know from your website you moved to your farm's current location in 2022, but tell me a little bit about the history of Farthest Field Farm. Is that when it started, or did it come into creation before you actually had your current land?
It was in creation before we had our current land. We were growing in a very tiny space in my partner's parents' land, which was not a farm. It was just like a tiny little space that is a garden. And so we made the garden larger and kind of fit in wherever there was space for us to do so. And we started because we both like growing things and we both like hot sauce, and we decided to kind of try it out and start recipe testing. And we were there for maybe 3 seasons before we finally moved to our permanent farming space. And we were very much bursting at the seams before we finally got to where our farm is today.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about, what the farm is today and what you do there.
Sure. It's very much still in development. We every year have been having pretty significant infrastructure builds. So the first year that we got here, we thankfully found land that had a barn. So we didn't have to build anything like that. But no greenhouses. The field, there was a little bit of open field, but it hadn't been used in any particular way for quite some time. And we are a no-till farm, so we have set about building several greenhouses because we are in Maine and we grow a lot of hot season crops. So the first year was when we built our first high tunnel. And we also started developing some of our raised bed no-till outdoor plots that will never be covered. They're not going to be in greenhouses. So that was all started in 2022. And at this point, we have 2 full-size complete high tunnels. And by full-size for us, that's 30 by 96 feet. We're working on our 3rd and hope to also finish our 4th this year. And that will be it for the large high tunnels. And we this year just finished finally our propagation house for all of our seedlings. And we've got irrigation projects in the works and some conservation projects to help with water flow on the land because it's a very, very wet piece of property. So we're now looking at 4 plots that will eventually all be those greenhouses, and then currently 3 more the same size that are just outdoors. And we'll probably add a 4th, maybe a 5th down the road. We're also putting in perennials like fruit bushes this year, some asparagus, things like that.
Man, you have a lot going on.
Yeah, it's been a time.
Yeah. So I saw on your website that you use pretty much only organic methods on your farm, but you're not certified organic. So for you guys, why is it best to not pursue the certification? And then since you don't have, the official label and the sticker, how do you make sure your prospective customers know about your growing practices?
Yeah, so those 2 questions are related for us. And to be clear, we have nothing against organic certification. Currently, as you mentioned, we have a lot going on, and it's more just that I don't have time to sit down and go through pages of paperwork, and it's also pretty expensive. We might eventually get it. We're not opposed to that. We do, however, we have found that when you are not organic certified, people ask you more questions. And we like that. We really like that people are engaging with us in that way. And we sometimes see that if you have the organic, I've worked at farmers markets and managed other farm stands before. And sometimes if you just have the organic label, it's just sort of like a free pass. But there's so much variation within organic farming in terms of, people will heat high tunnels all throughout the winter in Maine. And, that's a fuel use, for example, that we don't want to do on our farm. We grow in our high tunnels in the winter, but we don't use fuel to heat them. So just as an example, right, there are many, many variations in terms of what an organic farm can look like. And we want people to make sure that they are buying from people that they actually want to buy with. So to answer your second question, in terms of communicating with people, it's various things. It's them being curious, just like your question of like, why aren't you certified? And it's also trying to give as much information as possible on our website. And when we're at farmers markets or holiday markets selling our hot sauce, it's a lot of having those kinds of conversations and letting people know we're a local no-till farm and here are the practices that we use. So just being proactive about it if people aren't automatically asking those questions of us.
That's interesting. I guess I never would have thought about the fact that sometimes having the label leads to less interaction, but I guess it makes sense. If someone sees the label, they're like, oh, cool. And they think they know, the practices and they move on.
Yeah. And I don't know if everyone has had that experience. That's been my experience,
Yeah. So it sounds like you've been doing at least the hot sauces and these jarred food products kind of since the beginning. Do you have a culinary background or what kind of led you into doing food products?
Yeah, I don't have specifically a culinary background. I used to be a registered dietitian and I have a graduate degree in public health. And I've always been most of my studies were focused around food systems and most of my nutrition work was based in community and also around food systems. So I've always had some kind of intense interest in food. And especially when I was doing my studies, that just involved a lot of cooking on my own because I just really enjoy it. I've always loved bringing people together and learning new cooking methods and trying new things. There was a little bit of training in there. The dietetics program that I went through involved a full semester of cooking classes from a professional chef in a professional kitchen, which was pretty great. And I was at the time, because I was so interested in food, I was interning at various restaurants and kind of doing stints here and there. Nothing ever super long term and nothing that would have given me training in terms of recipe development, but certainly training in terms of kitchen methods, cooking methods, that sort of thing. I would say the way that I got into it the most was just through canning on my own. I participated in a CSA, community supported agriculture, for many, many years. And you got to do something with what you get. And so I spent a lot of time just looking up recipes and developing them on my own as well to figure out how to store what I got so that I could make sure that I, as a one-person household at the time, could eat it all. So all of this was happening in New York City when I lived there. And in the last few years that I lived there, I was connected by a friend to a local farm in Queens, and it's called Hellgate Farm. They're in Astoria. They also have land in upstate New York now. And they are primarily, in the city at least, a rooftop-based farm, and they were looking for someone to help develop their hot sauce recipes. And so I had a chance to develop their recipes, get them kind of up to scale. And then after, I moved to Maine. And my partner and I decided to start with value-added products, both because we love them and because I had the experience, but also as sort of a pretty defined way of creating income for ourselves so that at least one of us could get off of our full-time jobs and hop onto the farm full-time. And that to us seemed like the most clear-cut way of like, well, if we grow X amount of peppers and make X amount jar of hot sauces, then, we'll know where we need to get in order for that to happen. So it was practical and also very much a passion project.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously seemed to have worked out. And I feel like a lot of times with value-added products, they sometimes tend to come later. Like you kind of establish something and then you add value added. But I love that from the very beginning, it was like, no, this is part of the game plan. This is what we're going with. And I know you've recently added a new hot sauce, so obviously people like them if they're demanding even new varieties.
Yeah, and we have found that as time has gone on, we have found that it actually has made a lot of sense for us to begin with the value-added products because Maine has an incredible local small farming community. It is just amazing here. And as well as customers, people just are obsessed with farmers here. Right? And so there's a lot of farms. There's a lot of small farms already doing, there's like so many CSAs to choose from. There's so many farmers selling vegetables at farmers markets. So it kind of made sense for us now that we're trying to get into more markets. Hardly anyone does hot sauce at the scale that we do, and most markets don't have it right now. So it's kind of a good in for us. And we've kind of now started to model our farm in that way of like, well, what are the niches that we can fit into to make sure that we're staying relevant and giving people what they might want or need that is not already available? Because why, have fewer spots at farmers markets if we can just bring something else to farmers markets and give another vegetable producer that spot that we would have had for vegetables.
Yeah. You've already talked about some of the things that you're planning in the future. And I know one of those is like more fruit and fruit trees. So are there any specific products that people can kind of expect to see in the coming years?
I'm not sure. We are at a point right now because of our infrastructure focus the past few years where we're like, let's take a pause. We get very excited about new products and have had several iterations, which you do whenever you're in a new business of like, well, that one didn't quite work or wasn't as big a seller as we were hoping.
They can't all be winners.
Exactly. So we've had to pedal some things back, especially based on, I'm working out of a licensed home kitchen. I hope eventually to have a larger space, but there are only so many efficiencies that you can have in a home kitchen before you're in a different place. So some things don't make sense necessarily. That said, we are starting to sprout ginger and turmeric right now. Turns out that you can grow those in Maine in unheated high tunnels. It's just a much shorter season than it might otherwise be. So last year we had gotten ginger from another local farm and we trialed candied ginger syrup. And if all goes well, then I might be able to start doing a local chili paste that's, ginger and turmeric and all that kind of warming curry goodness.
Oh, yeah, that does sound good.
Yeah.
So I know just from reading over your website that you've hosted a variety of different events on your farm. Is that something that you plan to continue to do? And why is it important for you to invite the public onto the farm for all of these different kind of fun things that they can do?
Yeah, that is absolutely something that we will continue to do. It's a big part of who we are and why we're doing this. We want people to have spaces to gather and especially to have outdoor spaces to gather. And we want people to have spaces to gather where there are other people. Maine we're lucky to have so many outdoor spaces where people can go and hike and whatever, but those are usually solitary activities. And we want people to meet their neighbors. We want them to meet new friends. We want them to be able to come here and maybe eventually have a picnic or, that sort of thing. And the reason is that we see how interconnected farms are to everything that is around them. We're not just seeing this as sort of a finite, our farm has these borders and that's it. That's all that we're doing. Of course, our property has borders, but water flows off of our land and we have 2 streams surrounding our property. And we're using no-till practices because we want to build the soil biology and in turn build pollinator habitat and in turn build bird habitat, all of these things. And so all of this kind of stretches out to also include humans, right? We want it to be a full community. We call it a community farm, and we want it to be that in the fullest sense, from the tiniest little microbes in the soil to the humans who might come here for events. So it's an opportunity for gathering. It's an opportunity for celebration, and hopefully an opportunity as time goes on for learning. We have a lot of people who volunteer with us frequently and who are, they're learning farm skills and they're getting to take home beautiful vegetables after they come hang out with us for a day. So they're learning from us, but they're also learning from each other and learning about other community opportunities while they're here. And we're really committed to making a space for that.
That's awesome. So I know your farm gets its name from a song called Farthest Field, and I listened to that song actually for the first time this morning, and
cool.
I don't know, it hit me. There was, I don't know, a few lines in there that I was like, oh, I'm having like an emotional reaction to this song. And I pretty much immediately added it to one of my playlists actually on Spotify.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I would love to know for you guys, what about that song really inspired you as you started this farm and are continuing to grow the farm?
Yeah, that song, it's deep. I have the same reaction every time that I hear it or sing it. And it's written by a Mainer, David Dodson, which was like an added, yes, this is totally our farm name.
Oh, yeah, that is like the icing on the cake. Like,
yes,
oh, this fits perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. So my partner and I both do contra dancing, and there's the thriving folk dance community and folk music community here in Maine, of which David Dodson is a part. And it all goes back to community, right? So that song is so much about like gathering and being together and recognizing the people who are around you, those who have come, those who have gone, those who will go. And it also, I think, speaks to farming more broadly, right? It's such an intense cycle of life and death every day. And the song really speaks to that in a very powerful way. And as soon as we thought of that name, it was that moment where you just know that is the correct choice.
I love that. I would love to talk a little more about your hot sauces specifically. For our listeners, we are actually going to be using hot sauces from Farthest Field Farm to do our own kind of Hot One style video here at Lancaster Farming that we are all very excited about.
I'm so delighted about this.
I cannot wait. This is something we actually here in our office have talked about for years. It's been a long time coming, but we were just trying to figure out if we're going to do this, it has to somehow be very, agriculture focused. We're a farming newspaper. So it was like, we have to find like farm made sauces. And so it's how I stumbled upon Alyssa, was just Googling farm made hot sauces. So basically, if you could tell me a little bit about what we should expect from each sauce, maybe start from the order you would go in from mildest to ending with your spiciest.
Absolutely. And may I just say that I'm honored to be a part of your office-wide Hot Ones. I'm so thrilled. Okay, so the first sauce, we now have 5. We started with our original 4, but just as you mentioned last year, added a 5th. The first one I would start with is Golden Hour. And this sauce, the color is like its name. It's this gorgeous golden color. It is the second hot sauce that I know of that has husk cherries in it. The only other one is one of the recipes that I made for Hellgate Farm back in New York City. So it has husk cherries in it. About half of the sauce is husk cherry, which if you've never had one before, it's like a ground growing fruit that's like a little tomatillo. It's golden and to me tastes a little bit tropical, but it is native here. So it's a fruity sauce, a little bit sweet because of the husk cherries, and we do use a little bit of local honey. And we use yellow ahi varieties of pepper, and those peppers can be pretty hot, but because half of the sauce is fruit, it's tempered, right? So it's that would be our mildest one, but I think it's still like medium, on the lower side of medium is how I would describe it, but taste buds vary, of course. And then let's say our Firefly hot sauce would be next. So this one, the vinegar is steeped with Sichuan peppercorns, which if you've ever eaten them ground, they give your mouth a numbing sensation. You don't get that in the hot sauce. You would only get that if you ate the Sichuan peppercorn itself. But it is part of the citrus family, so it gives the vinegar a really bright, sort of citrusy flavor to it. The only pepper in there is cayenne pepper. It's like a giant variety of red cayenne, and it's like electric colored, this hot sauce, because of the peppercorns in the vinegar. The peppercorns are pink colored, and the cayenne. And so it's super bright. It is hotter because that sauce is pretty much vinegar and hot pepper. So it's pretty hot. But again, taste buds will differ. The next two are maybe tied, and this can depend on year to year. Peppers can be hotter season to season. I'm not sure if anyone's figured out why that is yet.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's odd. So I'll start with Oh Summer. This is a green sauce, and we take all of our unripe peppers at the end of the season and roast them in a barrel roaster over this giant flame. It smells amazing. The onion and garlic is also in there getting flame roasted. There's cumin, coriander, and some smoked salt in there. So it's a really like earthy sauce and savory. That one does not have any type of sweet in it, no honey or anything. The next one, which it's probably tied with, is called Lantern Light, and that sauce has a carrot base, a little bit of honey, a ton of garlic, and a variety of habanero called Paper Lantern, which gets this like rosy pink color when it's ripe. So that is another sauce that just has this gorgeous sort of sunset color to it. The habanero really comes through. It's got quite a kick, but it's mellowed by the carrots. To me, that sauce is like it rides the perfect line between like sweet and savory. It's like just enough sweet, but so much garlic that you're like, please put more of this in my mouth. And then the final sauce, so this was our most recent one because everyone's obsessed with hot ones now. And people kept being like, what's your hottest sauce? And nothing was hot enough. So we started growing ghost peppers, and we decided to do a smoked hot sauce. And there's habanero in this one as well. Ghost peppers and habanero and garlic are all applewood smoked. And then we put a little bit of dulse powder in. It's a type of seaweed. And just it gives it like a super umami flavor. So you've got the smokiness, the umami from the dulse, and then local apple cider vinegar. And that sauce is one that we talk about, like, you only want to keep eating more, but you keep regretting that you're eating more. It's so hot. We did some very non-scientific market research and placed it somewhere between the 7 and an 8 on hot ones. So,
oh, geez. Okay.
I know. Yeah. So we got some of theirs and kind of like tested it out according to our taste buds of where that sauce would be. Yeah.
All right. I will tell you, as excited as I am to do this, and it was my idea in the very beginning to do a Hot One style interview here. I'm not good at eating spicy food at all. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be a struggle for me, but I'm so excited. I needed to find hot sauces that have flavors and not just like, here's this spicy thing to put on your food. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to try yours because you've given me all these flavor profiles and I'm like, okay, that all makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's a big part of what we do and why we do it is because we want, and that's a big part of why we don't have any sauces where we're melting your face off, because we want you to taste things. Like the fifth hot sauce, it's called Epitaph. And that one is very, very hot, but it is so flavorful. And they all are. We want you to taste what we grow. We put so much work into these hot sauces. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I also don't like things that are purely just for the heat or purely just to add some salt to whatever I'm eating. Like I'll just put salt on it if I want that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up with the question we actually ask everyone on the show, which is, what does being a woman in ag mean to you?
I don't know that I think about it that much, or maybe that specifically, I should say. I am lucky to live in a place where there are a lot of different people in agriculture. So there are moments that it comes up, but to me, I suppose, just based on the path that I've taken, I suppose that it has come to mean making choices for myself and learning things in an environment that is really helpful for me to learn things in. I tend to be hyper structured, and farming is not that. It is in some ways, you got to plan and be very specific in certain ways, but there's always stuff that comes up, and you just have to roll with it. And so you have to learn, you constantly learning new skills. You're constantly rolling with whatever is coming at you. And so that has been very meaningful to me as a person, and has been a humongous and formative part of my farming experience.
Nice. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me on the Farmhouse. I truly cannot wait to try all of the sauces. Very excited for that. So thank you for joining us and for bringing our crazy hot sauce dream to life here.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm so thrilled to have been a part of this and can't wait to see how your Hot Ones episode goes.
Well, I'm really glad that we were able to connect with Alyssa, because I think I've mentioned it many times that it's kind of been my dream to do a Hot Ones style episode for years now. Of course, as we're going to call it here, the spicy scoop. And we just wrapped that up. I feel like at this point, my mouth has no longer, it's not burning anymore.
I was going to say, how's your tongue? Can
my
you feel it?
Okay. I can still feel a little bit of tingliness in my lips, actually. My tongue feels okay. But you're more into spice than me, so...
Yeah. It was good. I had a great time. I tried to hold off on drinking any water or milk. I made it, I think, up until the penultimate wing, and then I did need some water, and my nose was running, which is not something I can help, but does happen to me when I'm eating spicy food. But I really enjoyed it, and I loved watching our coworkers battle it out through the wings with me. I was very surprised in some cases how some people took the wings.
It was genuinely such a fun time, even though I was in pain. I had a lot of fun.
We were laughing through the pain.
I handled it better than I thought I would, to be honest.
You did.
I thought there would be some tears. I wore waterproof mascara. I thought it was going to be a struggle. But no, my nose was running, definitely could feel it in my tongue, in my lips, and occasionally in your throat, right? Yes. Ugh.
Especially the last one. As I was swallowing it, I could feel it searing down the throat.
My personal favorite, I thought was going to be Golden Hour. It actually was Firefly.
I really liked Firefly too, but it turned out that the one that I thought I was going to like best, I did Lantern.
Yeah.
It was delicious, and I thought the carrots brought out a really nice sweet flavor, which was kind of nice against the heat. I could taste the garlic.
I did like that one. I really could get the carrot flavor in the Lantern Light. That one was maybe a little too spicy for something I would want to eat regularly, personally. But honestly, I would use Firefly for other things. That was a good one too.
Yeah, I would like to try some of these on a grilled chicken breast, perhaps, with a sandwich. I think that could be really good.
Yeah. But anyway, please check out the video. It is on our website at lancasterfarming.com. It's on our YouTube channel, Lancaster Farming. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. You'll learn a little bit more about what we do here at Lancaster Farming, and you'll get to watch us suffer a little bit for fun.
But not too much.
Not too much. And the one thing I thought while I was eating these, even though some of the sauces were a little spicy for me, was that I definitely think Alyssa has succeeded in wanting their spices to have a flavor profile and not just hit you over the head with heat.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I know she said that the hottest one, Epitaph, she compared it to somewhere between 7 and 8 on the Hot Ones scale. And 8 in Hot Ones is legendarily the bomb, which apparently is just the worst thing you're ever going to put in your mouth, both in terms of heat and taste. And you will hear people say about that hot sauce that it's only exists to burn you. There's no actual flavor to it. And really, what is the fun in that? I mean, I guess you try it to say you've tried it, but what's going to keep you coming back for more? Whereas with these sauces because, like, yes, there is the burn, but there's also something good there that's going to keep you wanting to take another mouthful.
Right. The first thing I thought when I took a bite of the last wing of the epitaph sauce was, this tastes really good. And then maybe not even 5 seconds later, the heat really hit me and I was like, oh, this is spicy. Like, this is a lot for me, my personal spice levels. But the taste, that first bite, I was just like, oh, this has great flavor. So it's a win. Really thankful to find Alyssa and get her on this podcast so we can now have all of these sauces in this very fun video.
Yeah, it was great listening to you guys too. I thought it was really interesting how she went into this already thinking about how she wanted to branch out into foods, not just selling whole vegetables. It was a really interesting point she made about how, there's already so much competition for selling, whole veggies at the market that, why not go, one step beyond, kind of anticipate the customer needs and go into this with hot sauces already in mind. I thought it was really smart of her.
Yeah. It's such a unique farming operation and very cool. So I don't know if I'm fully thinking straight, honestly, after all of the spice, but I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, I think so too. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. And we are glad to have you guys back listening again.
Thank you all for listening. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you really liked this episode, please consider leaving us a review.
If you have any questions or thoughts about this episode or the podcast, you can email us at farmhouse@lancasterfarming.com.
You can also find us on social media at Lancaster Farming on most platforms.
Thank you again for visiting us at the farmhouse. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Candace.
And we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Wierzbowski. It was produced by Eric Herlock and Justin Berger. The music throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.